gosh. I think I saw her show up. If y'all have not heard me say this, maybe it makes sense. Brooke Slusser, who you heard speak yesterday, is a Texas collegiate athlete. She's gonna speak later on today when she has this panel during our lunchtime hour with Senator Mays Middleton with her mother, and her father is gonna be in the audience as well. You don't wanna miss it, okay? You can only understand this issue completely when you hear it spoken from a young lady who's had to deal with it, but also to hear how her family has had to deal with it. It will leave no doubt in your mind why we have put so much importance on this issue. But I like to call Brooke Riley Gaines' little sister, okay? Because they kind of look alike, and Brooke's a little bit younger. But eventually, I'm not gonna have to say that pretty soon here. It's gonna just be like Riley Gaines. I'm gonna say Brooke Slusser, and like the whole country go, oh, we know who Brooke is, okay? So I'm excited about that later on today. But I mentioned we're gonna lean more into the Activate today, okay? So I'm gonna give you some tips and some good insight on how to really get things done. Now, this is primarily at the Texas Capitol, but it can be applied in other settings as well. So I've got some wonderful volunteers that are gonna help pass out a handout that's gonna walk you through some of the stuff we're gonna talk about. But we've got a short video that's sort of a warm-up to the discussion that was so professionally put together. I wanna give you a chance to watch it, and I wanna let you know that the full version of this is available on our online educational platform called Texas Values University. So here we go.
Hey, Texas Values friends, Jonathan Saenz here, President and Attorney for Texas Values. This is Keys to Legislative Advocacy, Part 1, as a part of our Texas Values University training and teaching. Okay, get ready and pay attention because you're gonna learn some of the most important details, tips, insights, if you will, to the legislative process, advocacy process, if you will, that can be applied in just about any government setting. Now, a lot of my comments in this training are going to directly apply to my experience at the Texas Capitol, and many of the details I will mention will relate to that. So that is one of the best places that you can put these tips and tools and insights that I'm going to share with you with over 20 years of experience. That's where they can be put to use the best. But they can apply in a lot of different settings, as I've learned over the years. Now, if you've been a part of the Texas Values University training, you'll probably see that we've got another program and teaching in a course that is Legislative Advocacy 101 and 102. Now, there may be a little overlap with some of the information that I'm going to share with you in Part 1 and Part 2 of Keys to Legislative Advocacy, but not a whole lot, because I'm going to go a little bit deeper, and I'm going to give you some insights that really very few people could share with you or could know. Now, I'm not suggesting that there aren't people at the Capitol who've seen more and been involved in more than I have, but I bet it's a short list, okay? And I say that with some confidence and not to be, rude or try to build myself up. I'm trying to let you know what you're about to receive and hear is extremely valuable. And I've seen it work time and again. Now, some of these things I've learned are from people from over the years that have shared them with me. I've seen them in action. Some of it was trial and error. I mean, I just was very fortunate. I was in the right place at the right time, but I often didn't forget when I had some of those key moments to know, wow, I didn't realize something like that would work or how important that was to the process. But I'm excited about doing this because, if you've done this work for a while, you start to think, wow, if it's valuable to me, I bet a whole lot of other people could see this as value. I also know in a state like Texas, that's as big as our state is, you really need the help of a lot of other people to get things done. And so, I'm excited about that because there are 254 counties in the state of Texas. There are 1,200 school districts. There's over 1,500 cities, and there's only one of me. I can only be in so many places at one time. And so my hope is some of the things that you're going to learn with this training is going to really multiply the presence and the use of them across the state for the values of faith, family, and freedom. So let's get started. There is one thing that is so true in many ways and that I've learned over the years. Government belongs to those who show up. I want you to say it back with me. Government belongs to those who show up. Now, with technology these days, many things can be done remotely or from, the convenience of your home or by the use of your smartphone. And listen, in the work that I do and myself and our team, we use those resources and, the skills and technology and so on quite often. But nothing can substitute the value and the impact when you're involved in something and you're in person, right? When you show up at the Texas Capitol, when you show up at the school board meeting, when you show up at your HOA meeting, wherever there's a setting where someone is in charge of a larger group of people and they're making decisions and you have the ability to have a voice. City council meetings, you're protesting your property taxes. There's a variety of different settings where these things could take place. And so, but I've learned that time and again because sometimes strange things happen when people are not there or watching. And you would think with all the cameras around these days, it's hard for people to get away with things and someone's always going to see things. That is true. But oftentimes you'll see this, and I'm going to kind of put this microphone up here that I'm using. Someone will put their hand over the microphone. Can you still hear me? And now all of a sudden, you can't hear what they're saying, right? You're watching a meeting online. They've sort of put their hand over there, covered that, or they've pressed a button to where all of a sudden their mic is off, and you're like, what's going on down there? And even sometimes when I'm in the House and Senate gallery looking down and that happens, it's hard to hear what they're saying, even though I'm fairly close to the process. So government belongs to those who show up. Now, the organization I lead, Texas Values, we have someone at the Capitol every day of the Texas legislative session, and typically when we get involved in a matter that's before a rulemaking or a decision-making group of people, a body, if you will, we're usually there in person, but sometimes someone else is there on our behalf. It's a grassroots person, a volunteer, or whatever, and we're helping direct them. Now, you're going to see in this training, we're going to put something here on the screen in just a minute, and it's a part of actually it's a 2-pager, but it's a 1-pager with a front and back. You'll see that, and that's something that we could probably, what we may do is create a link to where you can download that from here, but also in the notes of this course. So that physical presence is so key, right? If you'll follow along with the bullet.
You want to know more? Sign up for Texas Values University. Let's walk through this handout, though, because, and I've tweaked this over the years, and it's not just me. We got 4 people on our policy team, a lot of other folks that are part of our work, and we all go through this training instruction. All of us need to know and have a sense, if you want to get things done, how it happens, right? So you saw in the video, and you saw a little bit about this on the first bullet point, about showing up, accountability. We'll be involved in committee hearings sometimes that'll go all night. One started at midnight at the Texas Capitol. And don't just think it's at the Texas Capitol. I've been to school board meetings, city council meetings that have gone all night, all right? A transgender, cross-dressing person tried to physically assault one of my team members at Austin ISD hearing. Oh, we can get rough and tumble in some other places too. And it went all night, okay? So a lot of times, if not always, if we're at a committee hearing and there's a key vote that we're working on, we stay till the end, okay? So, and I'll just kind of give you some appreciation with it, right? Let's just say, Vince, will you assist me here? Let's say you're at the podium and you're the one that's part of making the decision. John Bean, will you go up there too? Okay, Cheryl Bean, who is running for office, by the way, we like her. All right, you go up there, the wife of one of our board members. Y'all get on either side of Vince, right? Is this connected? I'm gonna steal his chair for a second. Okay, so they're up there at their podium or whatever. They're getting ready to make a decision and all that. And a member, you're just gonna stay right there. And a member of our team is sitting, like right here. How you doing? We're here whenever you're ready to vote. We're gonna stay right here. We're not going anywhere, right? That physical presence, they feel that, trust me. I'm not kidding you. I have been involved in committee hearings where they knew a member of our team was there, and then we got up and left. We had to run to another committee hearing, and then they would try to take the vote then. Trust me, they will do that stuff to you, okay? Now, I'm not trying to stalk anyone. I'm not trying to intimidate or make them fearful, right? We're just trying to politely hold them accountable and let them know we're not going anywhere until this vote is taken, and it better be the right way, okay? Accountability, right? But it also suggests, thank you, y'all can have your seat now. Give a round of applause, great. They're like, what am I gonna have to say? Nothing, just stand there, okay. All of these little things matter in the process, right? I was at a hearing on the Senate floor one time, all right? And give you a sense of this too. And I like to get out in the audience and stuff too, because, y'all are gonna get bored if I'm just standing up there the whole time, right? So if I move around a little bit, it's harder for you to fall asleep. Am I right? Okay, I'm like a man of the people. What's your name, man? Sophia? Jonathan Saenz, thanks for being here. And who are you? Darlene, I like that name. I got a good friend named Darlene. What's your name? Gani. Okay, so tilt your head over here for a minute though. On the Senate floor, there's what's called a rope in the House or a rail. Some people are familiar with that, some old timers, some veterans that are here that have been to the Capitol, right? And elected officials can be inside this rope or rail, but people like me cannot. And if you're a lobbyist, and I am licensed to be a lobbyist, the state says if you're gonna be up there trying to influence legislation, you do. I like to think, and don't take this the wrong way, that maybe we're God's lobbyists. Would that be okay? All right? Okay, so the Senate members, and they'll be over here, and sometimes their committee hearing is on the floor, okay? So one time, we had a hearing, all right? And I'm not kidding you. The legislator told me, I got you, Jonathan. We're gonna vote against this bill because we don't want it to move forward. It was a bad bill, all right? Try to remember, I think I remember what the content was. But I just want to make sure. So I'm like right here outside the rail. They're inside the rail, and their little table was there to vote at this committee. So they're going around that table. Who's voting yes, who's voting no, and they just raise their hand. But there's somebody officially tabulating it or whatever, taking a note of it. And so they get to that member I just talked to who I thought might be a little squishy, right? I want to make sure. And he said, you know what? I'm not kidding you. I'm not exaggerating. You can go watch the video. I know this is going to upset someone when I do this, but I'm changing my vote from no to yes. And I'm right here like, oh, are you, like I'm about to explode, right? This is how close he saw me. I know he did. That's why he said, I know somebody's going to be upset, probably, right? And I'm like, and part of the problem is, and look, was that bill going to pass the full Senate? I don't know, probably not. Maybe the chances weren't very good. But the fact that it moved along to the next step of the process, we had to pay attention to it and make sure it didn't go anywhere. So it extended our work on a bad bill. Okay, we talk a lot about passing bills, that's very important, but there's also that side to make sure bad stuff doesn't happen. Now I gotta spend more time over there and our team instead of somewhere over here. Because now I can't count on that guy. Maybe there's some other people I can't count on, all right? And I'm gonna get back to my training just a second, but I want y'all to understand and appreciate how this plays out and all the details that go into this that we're aware of that can play out. So there's change, and it turns out he was a swing vote. That bill went forward, and I think it was an LGBT type of bill that we were concerned. Those bills were really not moving. It was like 12 years ago. So the fact that one was moving in the Senate, we were worried, okay? And so he comes out, and I'm like, walking with him, like, what in the world did you just do? He's like, oh, come back to my office. I come back to my office. And he was like, well, I had to deal with somebody else, some other member, it's just politics. And I said, okay, well, listen. He goes, I don't really support that bill. I'm like, great. The one you just voted for? And he goes, well, listen, I'll vote for it. I'll vote against it on the House floor when it comes up for a final vote. And I said, well, that's fine. Well, listen, but I imagine you'll help me to make sure other people don't vote for it since you're really not for it. And he was like, oh, no, that's your job, John. That's not my job. The problem you just created for me. And he literally said, come on, now run along. I was like, wow. All right. Now, thankfully, Dan Patrick was in the Senate at the time. We talked to him. He goes, I got you. I'm going to get the votes. That bill's going nowhere. Before he became lieutenant governor. Now you know why he's lieutenant governor, right? If you needed more evidence. But that created more work and stress. Weird things happen. Somebody doesn't pay attention, that bill might get voted, and next thing you know, it's headed to the governor's desk. Now you got to get the governor to veto a bill. That's difficult, okay? Just so you know, by the way, that legislator, his name is John Corona. We made sure the next cycle he didn't come back to the Capitol, okay? Well, I should say our partner organization, Texas Values Action. That's when Don Huffines was elected and served in the Senate. All right, so let's go back to the two-pager. I'm sorry, I digress. My friends in the back. We go back to that the image with the two-pager. Oh, you got to go back to the video. I'm sorry. What did I do with my handout on that? Oh, I gave it to somebody to make a copy. Thank you. Okay, all right. I'm gonna try to take too much time on this. Make sure we're okay. My clock's not running too by the timer, just so you know in the back. Okay. So good emphasis point though. Look, when you're testifying in any type of setting, could be your HOA board. Who's ever served on an HOA board? Do you have any friends left? I mean, wow. I did that once, and I'm like, they're like, you're the government, you're the problem. I'm like, dude, I'm your neighbor. What? Calm down. Anyway, so could be a HOA, school board. I mean, you know, I don't know. You may have committees at your home where you divide up work. You know, you call a board meeting, whatever. You're going to make a presentation in an official setting. Usually there's a time limit, 2 to 3 minutes. Sometimes you might get more. A lot of times not, okay? Be prepared, get to the point. All right, memorize what you want to say. Try to make a couple of different points. If you can, bring copies, because a lot of times there's a body of people that are up here, and it's more than 2 or 3, could be 10, could be 15, and they're not all up there at the same time. They're in and out of the meeting. So you give copies, their staff gets it in case somebody doesn't hear it, right? You want to kind of blanket those things. And you want to make a couple of points, because a lot of times people aren't going to remember things. If you can make it personal, hey, I live in your district. Hey, this issue happened to me or a member of my family. Or, hey, I'm gonna run against you in office if you don't do this. That might work too, okay? You gotta think of those things that has a little bit deeper connection. I talked about arrive early, stay late, right? Things change. Look, our schedule changed this morning. The legislature, I like to say it's a business of hurry up and wait. Hurry up. Oh, wait, they changed the schedule. We're not doing that yet. Oh, now they are. Hurry up, run over there. We're at the mercy of this process. Any process you're in, they change the rules. They should follow them. They don't always. So try to get there early, but be prepared to say late, right? This is something we do, and it's a little small here, but in your handout, just to give you an appreciation for some of the detail of this work. This is on number 3, bullet point 2, I's. Let Texas Values or the chairman know if you or others are arriving from out of town, they may be able to accommodate you if you have to testify early. Maybe you're like really important, like Riley Gaines, Brooke Slusser, you know, Vince Puente, whatever. Somebody that's got a little bit more stature, but also brings a little bit more substance to the hearing or the circumstance you're in, right? So whoever that decision maker is, say, hey, can you get this person in early, or I might be able to help you get in early so you don't have to stay all night at the Capitol, because that's what we do, that's fine. And you wanna go home, no big deal. But don't just leave. Oh, I didn't get called up. Hold on, let me text the chairman, because I may have his cell phone number, and you can go ahead and testify. Those details really matter, okay? Thank you for updating the clock. Okay, I mentioned staying till the end of the committee hearing. Let's see, take notes, pick up from what other people say. You know, sometimes a lot of stuff gets said in committee hearings and government settings and so on that is not true or misleading, okay? ACLU, American Separation Church and State, they do that kind of stuff all the time. All right, they say, you're like, so you might be in a government setting, committee hearing, wherever, government, state, local, somebody says something, you're like, that is not true. But maybe you already testified, pass a note to somebody else that's gonna testify, let them make that point. Or if that's you can't do that, write a note about it, go talk to those members of that body, send an email, deliver something by hand, okay? Follow up, be taking notes. Listen to what other people are saying. They might make an argument you haven't thought of, you're like, oh, that's good for my side, or actually that's a weakness, we need to address that issue, right? You think about how serious you wanna get. And certainly if we're involved in the process, let us know. We can really make a difference on that. As far as at the state level, use the Texas Legislature's website. It is free. There are a lot of details to it. In our Texas Values University training in that online portal, we go into more detail about how to work the legislature's process. Okay? Civic Lessons 101. Politicians love children and babies, right? Bring the kids. Oh, your kid is so great. Yeah, they support this bill. Can I tell you about it? Right? Where's my daughter at? My son's back there. I don't know how many times I drugged them to the Capitol, right? And I'll tell you, it was interesting to have Governor Abbott up here yesterday, and my middle son, Jonah, was here and got to meet the governor for the first time. But he actually met the governor the first time many years ago. The governor was Governor Perry, I'm sorry, not Governor Abbott. Had a bill signing ceremony for the Merry Christmas bill, which, by the way, let me make sure I point this out. This booklet and program has a ton of resources. Take it home. Don't throw it away. Don't end up in the, under your car seat like a lot of my stuff ends up, okay? That law, a lot of laws that we've worked on and how they work, QR codes, we try to minimize the money we were spending on printing and computers. Sorry, Vince Puente and SOS. But, because a lot of stuff people can't hang on to. We try to put everything we could in here together with QR codes if there's not a long one page about those issues. Okay, so much in here. Okay, hang on to that program. There's a lot of good stuff. But the Merry Christmas law that protects Christmas in public schools in Texas is in there. But the Governor Perry had a bill signing ceremony, and my son, gosh, I think he was like 2 or 3, the Capitol. Anyway, you can check my Facebook page. Great, cute picture. Okay, all right. But Governor Perry was like, hey, your son or whatever, right? I mean, it was a little icebreaker. He knew I was. And then he was like, get over here. And then we were in the group picture together with the governor because my son was there and he was cute. Okay. You'd be surprised. Sometimes it happens that way, softens people up. Okay, do the research. Bring a friend, right? You got to drive to Austin or wherever you're coming from. Take somebody with you. Force somebody, brag them with Chick-fil-A, whatever. I'm sorry, bribe them. What did I say? It's nice to have that, You can bounce ideas off each other. Folks, I'm going to say this. You're going to say that. How does this sound? Whatever. And it just can be fun to experience that together. Respect the staff and follow up. Sometimes people get a little prideful. Oh, I don't want to meet with the staff. I want to meet with the elected official. Who are you, Well, those people make a lot of decisions, and they have the ear of that elected official. Don't take that for granted. And the reality is, that's a lot of times who you're going to meet with. Now, you get into some levels of government, they don't even have staff, right? State Board of Education, this is an elected body of 15 people that have geographic districts cut up through the whole state of Texas. They have the biggest geographic districts of any elected officials in our state that are not statewide. They don't have staff, okay? That's a whole nother issue of why they don't, okay? And a budgeting issue, but sometimes it's just them, okay? So that's fine, but figure that out, but don't take that for granted. Respect them, give them information, work with them on these issues. This one on the bottom, you may not be able to see it, but you should be able to see it in your printout. May I walk with you? Sure, I'll wait, okay? Anybody, some people here, you've been to the Capitol before. How many of y'all have met with an elected official at the Capitol? Okay. And I don't know, how long was the meeting? 5, 10 minutes, longer, something like that? Was it in their office across from a desk and you're sitting there? I mean, did that happen a lot? Maybe a little bit? Okay. So when the legislative session really gets going, and look, same thing with school board meetings. Like, who's had a meeting with their school board meeting in their office? Does that exist, right? I mean, it's a different setting. Sometimes that's the case. But a lot of these government officials, the only time they really gather or there's an official place is when they're up there voting on stuff in a meeting. A lot of them don't have all these individual places and offices for you to meet. Maybe they have a district office, whatever the case may be, all right? So you have to shift your paradigm and your thinking on this, okay? When you think about meeting with an elected official, scheduling a meeting, right? Because that could take a lot of time, and you're like, they just won't call me back. I didn't get a meeting scheduled, How long are you gonna wait till somebody emails you back and are you really serious about your issue? So if I could tell y'all, all right, we meet with all these elected officials and staff. As a matter of fact, the pastor who leads our church ambassador network of Texas, Pastor Tovar, He met with the office and staff of every Texas House and Senate member last session, not once, twice, but 3 times, okay? Now, his job was not to influence them on legislation. It was just to simply pray with them, give them some spiritual insight, some comfort, right? Some support, encouragement. And so he shared the gospel with them, prayed with them, and he presented a hand inscribed with their name Bible to every member of the Texas House and Senate member, also Attorney General Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and Governor Greg Abbott. Talk about covering some ground. So, and it's a good thing I brought that up, because where's my friend Gene Mills? I saw him here earlier. He had a very good friend and generous supporter that, and just real quick, Gene Mills, you'll hear from him later. He runs the Louisiana Family Policy Council. We're a part of a network of state policy council groups. There's 40 of us across the country. He does what I do for the state of Louisiana, and it's originally through Focus on the Family with James Dobson, but now by Family Policy Alliance. So the benefit of that partnership at times, things like this, and obviously, you know, we share a border, even though, you know, he's an LSU fan, you know. So Gene calls me and says, hey man, I got this guy who's donating all these Bibles to state legislature. They've already got them printed with the legislators and the executives' names. All you got to do is let us ship them to you and distribute them. I was like, wow. And this was like right when the session began. So Gene Mills, thank you very much. Appreciate you. So he had those donated. All right, I digress, okay? Let me take you back to what I was talking about, meeting with elected official staff. This is what the large majority of our meetings look like, whether it's, you know, sometimes staff, maybe staff, but certainly the elected official, the House, the Senate member, the school board meeting, the mayor, right? Whoever, local governments, it'll be the same way, but certainly the Texas Capitol, and the lieutenant governor, as you might imagine, the governor of the state of Texas, right? They're always doing different things. Their schedule is very packed. They've got a lot of different meetings to go to. This is what our meeting looks like. Governor Abbott, thank you so much for your wonderful support of the work we do. We've got Senate Bill 10, Texas 10 Commandments Law. It's up for a vote. You know, if you could say something publicly about it, I think it would make a big deal. The vote is later on today. Thank you much. Appreciate you. Senate Bill 10, great. That's my meeting, okay? The majority of our meetings are like that. You got to know what you're ready to talk about. You got to make it brief, tell them what the issue is, give them like a bill number or something. When is the critical vote happening? Thank you, they're on their way. Maybe you can hand something to them, okay? That's often how it happens. That's all you're usually gonna get. If you're waiting for somebody to give you permission to meet with your government leader that it works for you, you're missing out and you're doing it wrong, okay? What are you waiting for? These people work for us. We don't have to ask for permission. And if you're gonna wait, if you can't schedule a meeting, so what? Don't wait for that. Meet them where they are. Have the information ready, make your argument, and let's get something done, right? If you get involved and sign up for Texas Values University, we go much deeper into some more details, including positioning. Right? It's like a marketing term. There was a book a while ago called Positioning. It was all about marketing and different stuff. It's probably outdated. It's like 20 years ago now. But you think about positioning. I like to say that I'm an expert and I major in positioning. Certainly at the Capitol and other legislative hearings. You know, when we do work at city council meetings and school board meetings, we will oftentimes arrive hours before the meeting starts and maybe a day before, right? I want to walk around. I want to figure out where things are. You know, where's the best position to do my press conference? You know, draw a lot of attention. What door do I need to go into? Where do I park? What does it feel like around the area? Like, what are some things I want to pick up with locally? Oh, there's so-and-so's billboard name up there. They're also a mayor. And like, you know, just piece those things together, right? Just get a sense of the climate that you're walking into, all right? It's a complex issue sometimes, right? A lot of different pieces that go into these puzzles. Okay? But I don't want to walk in the wrong door and look like I don't know what I'm doing at a city council meeting. Like, look at that guy from, you know, that liberal from Austin. They said that to me in Odessa. I'm I don't know what they called me, some name. Somebody called me a Nazi, I think. I'm like, okay, my dad is Hispanic from South Texas. That's part of my ancestry and heritage as well. I don't think I have anything in common with the Nazis, all right? Just so you know. Okay, but I went to Odessa to testify on behalf of a city council ordinance to protect that city and public areas from not having men and boys going to the girls' bathroom, showers, and locker rooms. As a matter of fact, Odessa's the first city to pass it. Now it's state law, which is good, but before they were helping break some new ground and create some momentum. But I mean, I came to the meeting in sort of a mid-size, average rental car, okay? And the drive from here to Odessa is treacherous sometimes, just so you know, okay? But we got there, and I did have a nice suit and a tie. I mean, I'm a licensed attorney. I do want to look professional, right? So I sat on the front row because I did want to pay attention. I want that accountability. And there's like, yeah, he's sitting on the front row. He probably came here first class, on a plane. He's not going to tell us what to do. I'm like, aren't we in the same state? What do you mean, like I'm a foreigner? What are we talking about? They will do that to you, right? They'll hometown you. You ever heard that phrase, right? And I get it, And so, but it really wasn't about me. It was about the issue. But I wasn't worried about that because the reason why I was there was because a local citizen had asked us to come there for months. Part of the reason why is because they were getting beat up so much and disrespected by the government officials that they wanted some extra help. So they brought in the professionals, I like to think. But I knew and anticipated that. So I wanted to go in there and look like I knew what I was doing. So the media asked me about that. Like, why are you here? Who sent you here? You're not from here and all this other stuff. Trying to plant all these negative things in the story. Who paid you? All this stuff. And I said, I'm here because citizens of Odessa are tired with how these issues are being treated and that their girls and their young ladies are being disrespected. And they want to make sure that they're listened to and respected and that they get things done. And that's why I'm here. Okay? So, getting there early, kind of knowing some of those things, checking things out, you can avoid getting hometown, but a lot of times it's your hometown, right? It's not a big deal, but we can work with you on that. But positioning, okay? At the Texas Capitol, and again, I don't want to spoil it. You got to sign up for Texas Values University, okay? You're going to get all this depth. But we walk you through the places in the state capitol where I guarantee you, if you just stand there, almost every elected official will walk by you at one point during the day when the legislature's meeting. There are certain choke points, okay? And I'm just gonna give one away. It's not the majority, a lot of them, but this is easy. Right outside the House chamber. Anybody you've been to the Capitol, but do you know where the House chamber is or the Senate chamber? Raise your hand if you have some familiarity with that, okay? We got some smart people in the room. All right, they walk in and out, but not all of them, okay? Some of y'all have heard of the phrase, the back hallway. What's that probably? It's dark. It's probably some fancy lobbyists, some corruption going on back there. I don't know, I'm just kidding. But it sounds like that, the back hallway, okay? But it is, there's a hallway behind the Senate and the House chamber where only members can go up and down. And I'm not kidding y'all, have y'all seen this before? There's a glass door like one of these and it has a sign. This is all in Texas Values University. I'm telling you, we're gonna cut, I'm telling you. Who's, at least something I've said during my presentation, and it's okay, that you never heard before about the process. Raise your hand if you're like, I've never heard that before. Good, all right? That's what we wanna bring to you. But there's a sign on this glass door, and it says, authorized personnel only, House, Senate member, whoever. So you can't get in, it's locked, okay? There's somebody standing there. You can't get in the back hallway. So members come in and out there, but sometimes I can get in the back hallway. Why? You gotta watch Texas Values University, okay? I'm telling you though, and I don't break the rules, okay? There is a process though of being admitted to the back hallway. But you gotta even know the back hallway exists. You gotta even know there's a process because most people are gonna walk up to that door, okay? I like to do demonstrations just to is everybody still awake, okay? I'm gonna keep moving around, you're like, what's he doing, okay? So there's a glass door like this and a sign right here. It says, you can't come through here, okay? So what happens most of the time? And you know, you are good law-abiding citizens. If you'll excuse me, sir, you're gonna walk up to the door and you're gonna see that sign and you're gonna go, oh, shoot, I can't go there. You'll walk back to wherever you were. You know, that makes a lot of sense, okay? But I know there's a way through that door, okay? And there's a right way to do it. Watch Texas Values University, I'll tell you how, okay? But I'm serious, you know, because there cannot be any closed doors, okay? Thank you. You can clap for that. And I get it. You know, you don't want a bunch of crazy people coming up, you know, and attacking members and, you know, being hostile and all that kind of stuff, right? But, you know, we're trying to get work done that's life and death, all right? I see that. That's a yellow light for me. It's not a stop sign or a red light. But over time, I figured out how to get through that door. The first session I worked at Capitol, I testified once or twice in 2005. I remember I stayed at it wasn't even Super 8 back then. It was like Budget 8. I don't know what it was. It was some below Super 8 hotel in a really shady part of the east side of I-35. It wasn't really built up that well 20 years ago. It's a little bit fancier now, okay? And Kelly Shackford's like, I need you to go testify in this hearing. And I'm like, Kelly, it's like 7 o'clock at night. When am I supposed to get to Austin? I don't know, whenever you can get there. The hearing starts at 8 the next morning, so I got a couple of things together. You know, apologized to my family. I was like, all right, I'm out the door. So I got there like midnight, you know, slithered into a hotel room. I think I slept 3 or 4 hours, okay? And made it to the hearing next day and testified, and I think it only cost like $45. That's a good price, right, Vince? $45. So I didn't know a whole lot. 2007 was the first session I worked the whole time. Actually, I didn't start until like the first or second week of February, okay? And I had a couple of people that showed me the ropes, all right? But I've learned a lot of those things either the hard way or by experience, and that's fine. A lot of things are learned that way. I wanna help you cut in line a little bit, right? Shortcut some of your work, okay? That's the kind of value you're getting. There aren't any closed doors for us at the Capitol or any of these other settings. All right, we know there's a way through. We know there's a way to open it. There's a right way. There's also a way to get lucky sometimes. You gotta know where to be. You gotta know where to stand, okay? It's not uncommon that there might be a door we can't walk through, but if we're walking with a legislator and he or she goes through that door, I'm walking with him, no problem. No, he said, I rode in a blacked out SUV with Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor, one time. I don't even remember how I got in there. Okay? They're moving so fast. And I was just trying to keep a conversation, and we were still talking, and somebody opened the door for me, and when he got in, and I was there I was. We went into some hallways underground in the Capitol I had never heard of and didn't know exist. I was like, wow. Exciting. Okay, I'm a little over time. Did y'all learn something for that? Was that valuable? Okay.